Alright, TrueJack.com. This is like part 8. I'm going to talk about zone valves. So we got some kind of zoning problem. We have roughly 5 zones here. And one of the zones seems to be that it's open all the time. So it doesn't matter which zone is on. One zone is leaking, more or less. So I don't know much about zones. I'm figuring this out as I go along. So what I did is, step 1, most of these things have covers. It has a pit. Okay? Some kind of pit. Now, this is one type. There's another type on the other side of the building. So I removed the pit and I dug it out, and then I washed it with some water to clean it all up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to test to make sure. I think these 2 zones are working just fine. Alright, and I think the one that's messed up is on the other side. So let's go take a look at that real quick. Alright, and again, you can see you have one main supply which comes out of the building, and then it branches off into 2 zones. From those 2 zones, everything else is run. Okay, so these 2 zones, one is supplying all the hits we did back there by the pool and goes all the way back out to the secondary garage. Alright, and then the other zone is actually doing all this green piece, and it's watering our dollar weed. As you can see, it's growing very well. So let's walk around here and we'll peek at this real quick. So my zone that's leaking is this zone. This quarter area in here is all leaking. So I got to figure out which zone it is. I'm going to assume that it is actually the closest zone to this side. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, I had said before that you had the pit and then you had this. Oops. Sorry, other way around. That's your other type of zone cover. So here I actually have 3 zones. And again, it's always smart if you're going to work on a zone or something like that to dig this up completely. Alright? And expose it so you can work on it properly. Now, what worries me is that this has been worked on a bunch of times. And what I mean is, just by being observant, there's some old zoning wire that's just disconnected, and they've installed a new one. Now hopefully they did that all right. Alright, but we still have a zone that's leaking or doing something funny. Now, what I do notice is, and I think we're going to be just fine here, is this. When I was digging, I found 2 of these, and I'm just putting this together now, right where I'm talking to you. I'm looking at this. I have a new one, and an old one. The old one is going out to that corner. So the first thing we're going to do is replace that. Then we're going to test the system, and we're going to see where we are. And if we get lucky, then I'll just have to replace different sprinkler heads throughout the property, and we'll go from there. And these things are real easy. Alright, it's a matter of 2 wires. Alright, and they sell them. All you got to do is look on the side of it. Alright, look on the side of it here. It'll tell you that it's a certain number. This one's a 811 solenoid. 811. And that happens to be what I bought. So, disconnect the 2 wire nuts. The only other thing I could tell you is, I don't know which. I imagine that neither's positive or negative. You just hook up one to one wire, one to the other. Now, when looking at wires, sometimes you'll see that there's a line on a wire, but these wires are both identical. Same writing on both wires. So I imagine that it's not carrying voltage. It probably is carrying voltage, but it's such a low amount of voltage. So it doesn't matter whether it's left to right or right to left or red wire, black wire, white wire. It doesn't matter. I don't think. But we'll know soon enough. So I'm going to go grab that solenoid. I'm going to replace it. Then I'm going to fire up the system. And I'll show you what's happening. Well, actually, if the solenoid replaced, we may not have a problem at all. So we might not even have to make a video on that. You just use your imagination. I've got one zone that's just kind of leaking all the time, and I think that's that one. It doesn't matter whether I put this one on, that one on, or the other two, any one of the two on the other side of the building. That one zone seems to always be getting some kind of water. So I'm going to hope that this actually fixes it. And we'll go from there. TrueJack.com.